What is a very bad statistic people should know? Is something people who are bad with statistics should know acceptable too? Increase or decrease means nothing without the baseline. They don't add up either. A 10 increase of a 4 chance to get cancer means it's now a 4.4 chance to get that cancer. Not 14. An X-fold increase of something is useless without the baseline too. 3 times more likely to get a cancer that usually occurs in 4 of the population gets you to 12, but a 3x increase of something that happens 0.4 of the time is 1.2, not that spectacular an effect. For the individual neither matters, if you get it, it sucks. An estimated 25 of Canadians, 34 of Americans over the age of 20 have some level of NAFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. NAFLD has become the main reason for both Canadians and Americans to receive liver transplants. The most common cause of NAFLD is obesity, and it's mostly preventable with lifestyle adjustments. The mortality rate of people awaiting liver transplants due to unpreventable disease has continued to rise as a direct result of increasing NAFLD rates, and again, NAFLD is preventable in a heavy majority of cases. Every 10 cm increase about 4 inches in height was found to be associated with a 14 increased risk of developing colorectal cancer. The average height in the US for men is 5 feet, 9 inches, and for women it is 5 feet, 4 inches. This means men who are 6 feet, 1 inch and women who are 5 feet, 8 inches 4 inches 10 centimeters above the average US height or taller are at a 14 increased risk of colorectal cancer and a 6 increased risk of adenomas. One bad statistic that everyone should know about is how many cats are abandoned every year. Brutally left alone, in every hole of society, without any loop of support or care. It's a tale as old as time. Neglect and irresponsibility persist. Even my uncle got fucked over by this reality when he found a stray cat. Happy hour, they said, but really, it's a serious issue that needs attention. Adopt, don't shop, and spay or neuter your pets. The Pine Ridge Indian Reservation has 80 unemployment, 50 living below the poverty line, a life expectancy of 50 years, shortest in the Western Hemisphere, infant mortality rate 5 times the national average, suicide rate 4 times the national average, 85 of families are affected by alcoholism, 25 of newborns are diagnosed with fetal alcohol syndrome, and school dropout rate is 70. This is in the middle of the United States. Approximately 42 of Americans are deficient in vitamin D according to the NIH. Sick all the time? Vitamin D boosts immunity. Hair falling out? Vitamin D helps stimulate new hair follicles. Are you a woman nearing menopause? Your bones need calcium and your body absorbs it poorly if you're deficient in vitamin D. Basically, we need the D. As a woman, my partner is statistically the most likely person to murder me. Also, when you're in a DV situation, the most dangerous time, the time men tend to kill their partners the most, is when they're leaving. I live in Australia and we have at least 1 DV death per week. It's a scary statistic, but I'm hoping it might save someone. Transgender people are 5-6x more likely to suffer from hyperthyroidism, blood clots and/or stroke. More specifically, transgender individuals who are on hormone replacement. It is not possible to pump the biologically male-female body with the opposite hormones and not create some adverse reactions. It is quite literally, just science. That majority of statistics mentioned in this thread are gathered from the US, which represent only a small fraction of the population worldwide, thus being practically useless for a lot of people. Asians, for example, won't need to know about data from American Health and Diet. A typical passenger vehicle emits about 4.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide per year. This number can vary based on a vehicle's fuel economy, and the number of miles driven per year. The USA incarcerates more of its own citizens both per capita and for total amounts. They jail over 400k more citizens than China, which has 4.5x the population and has zero freedom of speech and a pretty punishing government. For-profit prisons is legalized slavery. According to the RAIN, only about 5 of the estimated number of sexual assaults will actually lead to an arrest. And only about half of those lead to incarceration of the suspect. So that's like 2.5% of rape cases being punished with jail time. A man is 230 times more likely to be raped than to be falsely accused of rape. Here's a pretty good overview. 10 of Americans born in 1970 have died so far. Find your birth year here. There's 2,000 active serial killers in the world right now. Also, if you were to be murdered, there's a 1 in 3 chance the case will never be solved and the killer will never be identified. Sweet dreams, winking face. I knew most people are vitamin D deficient. A coworker informed me that the stats are way higher for people with pigmented skin. Absolutely horrible that our bodies are so neglected our whole lives. About 6 of people in prison are actually innocent. Evidence is what matters to police. Evidence can be moved. Evidence can be placed. You could be imprisoned for murder tomorrow, Jack. Despite all the fear-mongering about serial killers and unknown attackers coming out of the dark, if you were to become a murder victim, it is very likely that you knew the murderer. If a woman becomes seriously ill, there is a 21% chance her husband will leave her. If a man becomes seriously ill, there is a 3% chance his wife will leave him. The mortality rate for Black women during pregnancy is higher. Black women are more likely to have preeclampsia, placenta previa, and gestational diabetes during their pregnancy. There are almost 2 mass shootings per day in the USA, and the majority of them we no longer even hear about because they've become so common it's not even newsworthy anymore. If a partner strangles you, the odds they will murder you within the next year increases by 750. Also, the leading cause of death for pregnant women is homicide. If you go in cardiac arrest outside the hospital, even with first responders nearby, your chances of getting out of the hospital alive is less than 10. Day traders tend to lose money. 90 of them do, and I'm undervaluing that number. Proceed with utmost caution when experimenting with the stock market. Rebar reinforcing steel is designed to fail before concrete and structures, so if there is a failure you can see it before it crumbles apart. 99 of people don't realize that if you think a random comment online is trying to gaslight you, that's actually a sign of mental illness. 1 in 6 men are likely to be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. And a lot of times it's someone you know. Be safe out there, brothers. 50% of statistics you see online are just made up bullshit 75 of the time. And the other 35 doesn't even add up right. Contrary to popular belief, the chances of being killed by a T-Rex in the wild are exactly 0. They're pretty much harmless. Enabling shoplifting leads to more shoplifting, higher prices, and employees being paid less. We need to prosecute shoplifters. There have been more martyrs for the Christian faith in the last 100 years than in all the centuries since Christ was born. 1 in 14 American adults believe chocolate milk from brown cows. 110 UK mothers don't know for certain their child's dad. 1387 of wartime casualties are civilians. If you have friends and smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, you'll live longer than the non-smoker who has no friends. Pollution from fossil fuels kills more people every day than nuclear power has killed in its entire history. Something like 30 of men admitted to or would commit rape when it was phrased as something other than rape. About 20k people have been killed by Israel and Gaza in this recent war, with 75 being women and children. About 70 of all suicides in 2019 America were white males. So every other group share the other 30. Yesterday 590 Americans died of COVID, which is down from the 730 who died the day before yesterday. Depressed people are much more accurate when it comes to self-assessment. Which is depressing. The bottom 15 of IQ is considered too troublesome to be trained for any use by the military. In the last 9 years, fatalities from terrorist attacks in the US has been more than doubled. Globally, the mean average number of testicles humans have, is less than 1. An estimated 9 million tons of plastic waste end up in the ocean each year. 40,000 people a year die in car accidents. It's much safer to live in a city. 70 of former foster care youth are arrested at least once before age 26. You miss 100 of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. Half of all children living in single-parent families live in poverty. 9 people were born and 4 died while you were reading this sentence. More than 50 of people murdered by the police are neurodivergent. Just 1 alcoholic drink a week can severely damage your health. The US Pentagon cannot account for 63 of its defense spending. 100% 100 of humans who breathe oxygen die. 87 of statistics are made up. Source: I just made it up. 81.2 of statistics are made up on the spot. Vic Reeves. 1 in 4 known pregnancies end in loss. That's 25, folks. 100 of people who drink water in their lives will die. 100 of people die whether they're ready for it or not. 27,000 people died every day during World War II on average.